May I see Mr. Saroyan, please? William Saroyan. Bill?
I hope that you shall not be disturbed by the volume involved here, because we really don't need it, but let me say that for people to do the sort of thing that have been happening recently because of the Armenian Assembly is in itself unique. Thank You America with the Tapestries was a very special kind of token appreciation for things beyond appreciation. Tonight, we have had a good time meeting one another and paying our respects to that great magazine which has been the interior travel agent for all small boys and girls and old people of the nation and possibly of the world. It was through the pages of the National Geographic that we all went everywhere, and we still do. Many people do find out a little bit about other people through the articles. Now, not all Armenians are proud, but the title was a rather apt one for us. Some Armenians are arrogant, and some are slightly insufferable, very human, and all Armenians are disputatious. It would be totally inconceivable for a large group of Armenians to become a kind of unit that you could say you could line them up and march them into war. First of all, the purposes of the war would be discussed at great length, and it would be decided that they weren't worth the trouble. You might get hurt. And it would be much more sensible to go home and have what we used to call jatic. That's yogurt with cucumbers and the garlic. And in addition to the impossibility of generalizing even about a people, any people, certainly this people, the Armenian people, is that I have never yet come upon any full accounting of one Armenian, let alone we are now 4 million in the world. If you count half Armenians and quarter Armenians. And this impelled me to ask a friend of mine, a very brilliant woman, a very brilliant girl, who's been with the New York Times Book Review section for 25 years by the name of Nona Balakian. Well, who is an Armenian? Because Eddie Mecca of those two girls on television, maybe you all know about him. Eddie Mecca is, Mekchin is his name, Shirley and whatever the other girl's name is. Laverne and Shirley. Eddie Mecca was once on a talk show, and he said something that I was very deeply moved by because of his sincerity. He says, I'm 100% Armenian. And this is generally applied to the Indians, of the North American Indians, to 100%, but I thought it was rather wonderful that Eddie Mecca, his name is Mekchin, said that. And so I told, in a discussion with some friends, how many Armenians are there? And we decided, amongst us, we do this now and then, as it's an Armenian custom, there must be 4 million, and somebody says, no, there's got to be 5. And somebody else says, no, I think there's 2. And then I says, I actually believe there's 8 million of us. And they says, well, how do you feel there might be 8 million? I says, I'm counting a few other people that are very sympathetic. The entire staff of the National Geographic, for one, and a lot of Irish people, and a lot of Jewish people, and a lot of Greeks, and a lot of Turks, persecuted Turks. Remember that they are also in the human family, and that many Turks are Armenians, as a matter of fact. They just don't know it. And So how many Armenians are there? We decided finally that we'll strike a compromise. There's 4 million of us. Now, if you put 4 million Armenians into this room, you would have the same effect as the number that are here now. Total chaos and confusion. Nothing is likely to be understood other than, on this occasion, a warmth of regard for some friends. I suppose that we ought to be just a little bit astonished at ourselves to be so surprised that somebody didn't dislike us. Why should anybody dislike us? There's nothing particularly dislikable about the Armenians as about any other people. All people are likable. But the purpose of this occasion is one of pleasance, of being pleased. Now, I'll go back to the question. If there are 4 million of us, counting half Armenians and quarter Armenians, my grandchildren are now quarter Armenians. My children are Armenian and Jewish, and my grandchildren are half Irish and 1/4 Armenian and 1/4 Jewish, and had the most beautiful children in the world. And my grandson, whose name is Armenak Saroyan, well, he looks like my father, who died at the age of 36 in 1911. So you can see that there's a pattern of movement ahead. So if we count the quarter Armenians, such as my grandchildren, and I am counting them, that's how we got up to 8 million. I counted those 3, and it come out to 8 million. If we're counting them, then we have a larger number. And so I said to Nona Balakian, because she is very bright and has swift intelligence, I says, Nona, would you tell me who is an Armenian? And she says, anybody who says so. And that is precisely what it comes to. Now, I have 2 stories of possible relationship to what this occasion is about. And one has to do with each person's preoccupation with himself, and therefore each nation's preoccupation with itself. I know of no family of people more interested in members of that family than the Armenians. We are continuously searching for people. I have put forward the theory that the playwright Edmond Rostand is an Armenian. He's the man who wrote the great play of Cyrano de Bergerac about the man with the large nose. And it was brought forward that his name was Rostomian, and he changed it as a practical man to Rostand. Columbus was an Armenian, and he forgot that he was an Armenian, and when he got to the New World, he said he was Italian. Now, in our preoccupation with ourselves is some of the charm of the human race. There's no reason for us not to be, each of us, obsessed with himself, because that's who he is. You can't be obsessed with somebody else, then the madness would be clinical. This madness is sort of insignificant. And so in 1939, that very, very fateful year, when everybody died, everybody I knew died except us. We didn't die, and that's why we're here at this celebration. In that year, I had come home from Europe, which I had visited, knowing that the war was coming and that there were great times ahead, terrible, tragic times ahead for the whole race of human beings, especially for the Jewish people. I came home in November, and it was an exciting time because Poland had been invaded, the war was on, England alone was putting up a resistance, America had not yet come into the war, and Roosevelt, the president, was beginning to find out what his position was to be in relationship to the war. And I was down in my study in San Francisco, and upstairs was my mother Takuhi, and her mother, Lucentak, that means the ring around the moon, Lucentak Karohlanyan Saroyan. Now, the radio was turned on, and I was downstairs writing. And my mother opened the door downstairs and says, Willie, Ekulver, President Roosevelt Kahosi. And my grandmother said to my mother, my grandmother hollered down, Willie, come on upstairs. President Roosevelt is talking. Every Metz minus up. Ichu, Willie Kahosi. And My grandmother said to my mother, "Why, is he talking about Willie?" And this is a perfect illustration of our whole preoccupation, each of us with his own life and his own name and his own world. And then there comes a story about languages, communication. My grandmother, on the other side, my father's mother, her name was Haripsime, in honor of the great martyred saint from Rome. And she was chatting with her neighbor at the fence in the garden in Fresno, and she was speaking Armenian, and the neighbor, who was a retired school teacher, was replying in English. And my grandmother came into the house and slammed the door, and I said, "What, are you a little bit upset about something? What is it?" And she says, "Well, I'm astonished that I've had this nice lady over here as my neighbor for 25 years, and we've been in the garden talking every year, and even though she's been to good schools and is supposed to be an educated lady, and after 25 years she can't speak a word of Armenian." And I said, "Well, she should have picked up something. I mean, she should have found out something." And so, you see, what we are grateful about has been brought forward much better than anybody might have done, or certainly anybody that could be added to by Mr. Manukin, is that we have survived, and the marvel of it is that nothing that was really democratic in the human world could be more democratic than the identity of the Armenian, and we haven't forfeited any of that at all. We have, oh, Harry, now chime. We have our full identity, and sometimes we have it down to the halvers and one-quarters. And I was asked earlier today if I would get up near the closing moments of our celebration, and don't let me close them because that would be very discouraging. They said, "Would you speak for a moment?" I said, "More likely for maybe 10 moments. I think my 10 moments are up, and let me say 2 things about Harry Nalchayan, who is a great photographer. I am looking for the girl. I'm looking for the girl who wore that jersey and is bubbling over with some kind of life, and it says, 'I am an Armenian, kiss me.' Would she kindly let me see her face? Where is that girl? She wasn't here. Oh, you are beautiful. Yeah, that's a lovely picture. And the other thing I would like to see that was also photographed by Harry Nalchayan was that old arthritic Armenian in Fresno leaning upon a dead tree with a swollen gut. I haven't seen him. Where is he? I say good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bill. The pictures you see in the Geographic are Mr. Harry Nalchayan, and I want to bring him up here because I want you all to take a picture of Harry. Harry?